Have you ever had that moment when you look at your life and realize that on paper everything seems just right? Your work is up to date, the bills are paid, your relationships appear to be working, and your goals are being met. But still, something feels off inside, doesn't it? A strange feeling like you're living someone else's life. It's as if you're an actor playing a role you've learned perfectly, but you've completely forgotten who you are when you're not on stage. You do everything you're supposed to do, respond how you're expected to respond, act the way you should. But where are you in all of this? Maybe you wake up some mornings and ask yourself, why do I feel so empty if I'm doing everything right? And then that uncomfortable feeling creeps in, that maybe you're living on autopilot, following a script you didn't even write. If that resonates with you, I want you to know something. You're not alone in feeling this way, and you're definitely not crazy. In fact, this feeling of being lost, even while doing everything right, is much more common than you might think. And there's a deep, liberating explanation for it. Carl Rogers, one of the most revolutionary psychologists of the last century, devoted his life to understanding this exact human experience, this disconnection we feel when we live more to please the world than to honor who we truly are inside. Rogers discovered something fascinating. We have a natural tendency to grow, to develop, to become who we really are. He called it the actualizing tendency, like a seed that naturally wants to become a tree. But sometimes, that tendency gets stifled when we spend our whole life trying to be who others expect us to be. And that's when this strange feeling shows up. You're meeting all the expectations, but you're not being yourself. It's like planting a rose bush and feeling frustrated that it's not growing apples. It's not that you're doing something wrong, it's that you might be living the wrong life. Not wrong in a moral sense, but wrong in the sense that it's not yours. You know what Rogers found out? That we often feel lost not because we're failing, but because we're succeeding at the wrong game. We're winning a match we never even wanted to play, following rules we don't believe in, chasing rewards that don't truly matter to us. And the most interesting part, that emptiness you feel isn't a flaw. It's actually your inner wisdom trying to tell you that something needs to change. It's like an internal alarm saying, hey, you're drifting away from who you really are. Let me tell you about two very different ways of living life. Rogers noticed that there's a huge difference between living for external approval and living from your inner truth. When we live outwardly, it's like we have an imaginary audience watching us all the time. Every decision we make goes through the filter. What will people think? Will this make me look successful? Will I be accepted if I do this? What if I disappoint someone? It's exhausting, isn't it? Because you're never truly relaxed, never just being yourself. You're always performing, constantly adjusting, always reshaping yourself to fit others' expectations. And the worst part? Many times, those expectations aren't even real. They're what we imagine others expect from us. Rogers called this living based on conditions of worth, instead of living from your own internal experience. It's like being a thermometer that only knows how to measure the temperature of the room, but never knows its own. Now, living from within is completely different. It's when you make decisions because they make sense to you, because they align with your true values, because they resonate with who you genuinely are. It doesn't mean being selfish or ignoring others. It means being authentic. Think about it. When you're around someone who is truly themselves, you feel it, don't you? There's something about them that's real. Not forced, not artificial. They're not trying to impress anyone. They just are. And that's magnetic, because we recognize authenticity when we see it. But here's the catch. To live from within, you first have to know what's inside. And often, we lose that connection with ourselves after years of prioritizing others' opinions over our own experience. Rogers discovered that each person has an inner wisdom, a kind of compass that always points toward our genuine growth. But that compass gets confused when there's too much external noise, too many voices telling us what we should do, be, or want. It's like trying to hear a soft melody while a rock band is playing right next to you. The melody is there, but you just can't hear it because of the noise. The interesting part is, once we begin turning down the volume of those outside voices and start paying attention to our inner voice, we realize it's always been there. Maybe a little muffled, a little shy, but always trying to guide us toward who we really are. And then something magical starts to happen. Instead of feeling lost, you start to feel at home within yourself. Now I want to talk about something you might recognize: the masks we wear to navigate the world. Rogers noticed that very often we develop different versions of ourselves for different situations. One mask for work, another for family, another for friends. And I'm not talking about normal social adaptation. Everyone behaves a bit differently depending on the context, and that's healthy. I'm talking about something deeper, when you feel like none of those versions is truly you. It's like being an actor who's played so many different roles that they've forgotten who they are when they're not on stage. You know how to play the dedicated employee, the obedient son, the funny friend, the understanding partner. But when you're alone, you look in the mirror and wonder, who am I, really? Rogers saw this with a great deal of compassion. He understood that we wear masks because, at some point, we learned that showing who we truly are could be risky. Maybe we were rejected when we showed vulnerability. Maybe we were criticized when we expressed our real feelings. Maybe we learned that love and acceptance came with conditions. So as a survival mechanism, we created these improved versions of ourselves. Versions we thought would be more accepted, more loved, more successful. But here's the problem. Wearing a mask all the time is exhausting. It's like carrying a heavy backpack that you're never allowed to take off. You spend a huge amount of energy maintaining these personas, constantly remembering how you're supposed to act, making sure the real you doesn't slip through the cracks. And the worst part? Even when you do receive approval while wearing the mask, some part of you knows it's not really you who's being accepted. It's the mask. So even when you're surrounded by people, you can feel deeply alone, because no one truly knows you. Rogers called this incongruence, the gap between who you are on the inside and how you present yourself to the world. And this incongruence creates constant tension, a lingering sense that something's not right. It's like trying to sing a song that isn't in your key. You can do it, but it will sound forced, and you'll get tired very quickly. The good news is, you don't have to wear these masks forever. Rogers deeply believed that we all have the capacity to reconnect with our authenticity. It's not easy, but it is possible. And when it happens, it's like finally being able to breathe after holding your breath for far too long. The first step is simply recognizing that you are wearing masks. No judgment, no guilt. Just a quiet acknowledgement. I'm doing this. Because we can only change what we're willing to see clearly. Now we've arrived at a very important part. How can you begin to reconnect with who you really are beneath all the layers that have built up over the years? Rogers had a beautiful belief. He believed that each person already has within themselves everything they need to grow and become who they truly are. We don't need to be fixed by someone from the outside. What we do need is to create the right conditions so that our inner wisdom can emerge. It's like taking care of a plant. You don't make the plant grow. You simply create the right conditions, water, light, good soil, so that it can express its nature. With ourselves, it's much the same. So how do you create these conditions to reconnect with your inner voice? First, you need real silence. Not just the absence of sound, but silence from expectations, from judgment, from the pressure to be something specific. It's like clearing the table before you start cooking. You need space to hear what's really going on inside. Rogers discovered that we are much wiser than we think, but our wisdom speaks softly. It doesn't shout like the external voices that tell us what we should do. It whispers. That's why we need silence to hear it. Second, you need to practice non-judgmental acceptance of whatever you find inside. This is crucial. If you're going to listen to your inner voice but then attack everything it says, it'll go right back into hiding. It's like inviting someone to talk and then criticizing everything they say. They're not going to want to talk again. So when you notice a feeling, a desire, an intuition, just observe, even if it's something you've always judged in yourself. Just notice it with curiosity, like a scientist studying something interesting. Third, start small. You don't have to radically change your whole life overnight. What if you just started by paying attention to your small preferences? What do you actually enjoy doing in your free time? What kinds of conversations energize you? What environments make you feel the most like yourself? Rogers believed that authenticity is not a destination, it's a path. Each small choice you make that's aligned with who you really are. Each time you choose to be honest instead of just agreeable. Each moment you listen to your intuition instead of following what you should do. All of that slowly reconnects you with yourself. It's like following breadcrumbs back home. Every small authentic choice is a breadcrumb that leads you back to who you really are. And here's something beautiful. When you begin to live more in alignment with your inner truth, not only do you feel better, people around you can feel it too, because authenticity is contagious. I want to offer you a very simple exercise, inspired by Rogers' approach. It's not complicated, it doesn't require any special technique. It's simply an invitation to begin getting to know yourself again. Today, at some quiet moment, sit in a place where you feel safe and ask yourself this question. If I could live completely free from judgment, my own and others, how would I like to be? Don't try to think your way to an answer, just feel. Let the response arise naturally, without forcing, without censoring. Maybe images will come, maybe words, maybe just sensations. The format doesn't matter. What matters is honesty. The answer might surprise you. It might be something you've always known but never allowed yourself to admit. It might be something scary, or it might be something much simpler than you expected. Whatever comes up, receive it with kindness. As Rogers would say, treat yourself with the same unconditional positive regard you would offer a dear friend going through a hard time. And then, if you feel ready, you can ask a second question. What is the smallest step I could take today in the direction of that person I want to be? It doesn't have to be a big step. In fact, it's better if it's small, because real lasting change usually happens through consistent small steps, not through grand revolutions. It could be something like choosing to express your true opinion in a conversation instead of just agreeing, or making time for something you truly enjoy this weekend instead of just following the usual routine, or simply saying no to something you don't want to do, even if people expect you to say yes. Remember, you're not trying to become a different person. You're trying to become more yourself. And that, according to Rogers, is the most direct path to a meaningful life. Your inner voice is there, patiently waiting to be heard. It never left you, even when you felt lost. It was just waiting for you to be ready to listen. And the fact that you're here watching this video, reflecting on these ideas, it means you're already on the path back home to yourself. If this video touched something in you, if these reflections made sense, I'd love to know. Leave a comment sharing which part resonated most with you or a small discovery you made about yourself while watching. And if you feel that these ideas might help someone you know, someone who might also be feeling lost, even while doing everything right, consider sharing this video. Sometimes, all a person needs is to know they're not alone in what they're feeling for real change to begin. Subscribe to the channel for more reflections like this, always from that warm, accepting perspective Rogers taught us, because we all deserve to live a life that is truly our own. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.